Hello and welcome back to another video where I talk about my own experiences, mainly about planning, but also just AuDHD on its own and the various effects that has on my life. And one of the things I think a lot of people who have this type of neurodivergency will relate to is the executive function issues. Like some people with ADHD will occasionally do nothing, and then the next day they do everything at the same time, or will have no willpower or energy to do anything around their own house, but then they go to somebody else's house and they're the biggest cleaner ever. And that can make you feel some type of way about yourself and the way that you do things, etc. And I'm pretty sure you're no stranger to trying to figure out if you can maybe make a system for yourself to help with that, and maybe also, I don't know, make like a schedule or something, download an app, buy a new planner, etc. While you're on this channel, you've probably seen a couple of videos, and if you haven't, make sure to check them out, because I also do some planner stuff every once in a while. But that is very much part of the cycle, or the loop, or the infinity symbol, whatever it is called, or whatever you'd like to call it. That is the way that we do things. Now, over the months leading up to the end of last year, I was already kind of like looking around my house and trying to figure out how I was going to make some type of order in the chaos. And I did a thing here and there to help with that. But that really hit the rapids when, at the end of November, I found that my brother had actually passed away, because then I had to do a lot of stuff, but also people wanted to come over to my house for all sorts of appointments, and of course my mother wanted to come over. People were coming to my house, so I needed to make sure that the living room and the bathroom, etc., all the places where people would be able to go while they were here visiting, were in good condition. So I already had to clean those areas up, and that does mean that things move to a different location. Usually the attic or my bedroom gets a whole bunch of extra bags that'll then get unpacked later, or maybe not. Maybe they'll just sit there for another couple of months until I decide to look through them and then go, oh my god, this is too much work. Because I think that's also kind of the symptom, at least on my end. It is like I'll go into my bedroom, like back then when it was a big mess. Currently I've cleaned it up quite a bit, but let's say I went in there and I had the couch sitting there with all the stuff. Most people have like a chair that they put their clean clothes on, and I had a couch for that type of thing, and it also had other things on there that I just needed to store somewhere. I'd look at that and go, oh yeah, I really need to sort this out. And then I'd look at a couple of things, pick a few things up, try and figure out what's going on here. And my energy would immediately drop down to 0, and sometimes even lower than that, and I had to put it back down and then go, okay, well, I'll do this some other time, but eventually this needs to get done. Like I keep telling myself, this needs to get done. But there's always something more interesting to do. In the evenings, I want to relax after work. In the weekends, I want to do things that I don't have time to do during the week, and that usually does not involve cleaning. So things like that tend to get put off. But anyway, back to last year, the end of last year. So people were coming over. I had to have an appointment with somebody who was going to do the funeral arrangements, etc. My mom was coming over with her sister, my aunt, so things needed to be cleared up. So then the end of the year approached, and that also means Christmas, and that meant clearing things up again because my mother was coming over for Christmas. Of course, I already had to move some things around because I needed to put my Christmas tree down. And I have a relatively small living room / kitchen, and a relatively large Christmas tree that I put up every year, a fake one. But when she announced her plans to come over, that meant I had to make sure things were presentable for Christmas, even though we were only going to spend like 2 or 3 hours at my place before going somewhere else. But to top it all off, she also announced that she was going to be spending New Year's Eve with me and then spending the night. And that meant I had to switch a couple of couches around, because the couch that was in my living room earlier was just a regular couch, and the couch in my bedroom is actually one of those couches that you can like fold the backrest down, and then you get a temporary bed type situation. So a sleeper basically. But that meant clearing the couch, and because that couch was taller, like taller on his legs than the one in the living room, that meant that the stuff that was under that couch could not go under the couch that was in the living room, the one that I switched to my bedroom. So I had to move some things around with that as well. And like that day, I also just tossed a whole bunch of stuff in trash bags. Like, I don't see myself using this anymore. Where does this go? What do I do with it? I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of that. And this goes upstairs. So I really sorted things out to make sure that I had less stuff there than before. So now there are some things on the couch, but it's not a big deal. It's more like things that I don't really have a space for in the cabinet that's next to it. That also needs to be cleared out at some point, because it has a bunch of stuff in there that don't really belong in a clothing cabinet, but that's another matter. But it really got the ball rolling to be more careful where I put my things. And whereas before I might see a dish sitting in a sink that needs cleaning and go, oh, I need to get to that. Now if I see something like that, if I catch myself going, oh, I need to do that later, I stop. Like actively stop myself from going somewhere else and do the dish. Usually it's only like one plate and a couple of forks and knives or something. So it's not like I have to do a whole lot. And if I keep doing that, like right when I'm looking at it, just do the thing, it's never going to be more than that at one time. Because I'm still not really feeling like doing it. I still have the energy drop when I see it. But I noticed that when I actually just go ahead and do it and just kind of ignore the fact that I don't really want to right now, it gets done. And then I can kind of let go that to-do list in my mind, and that makes my nervous system calm down, I suppose. Because it's a pressure release, basically. And it's not fun, it's not exciting, it doesn't really give me any dopamine rushes. Although you could argue that the finished result gives you some type of dopamine, like I did that, like that type of thing. But it works. And another thing that I found that works in this regard is removing a clutter. Sometimes clutter can't move anywhere else. Like I have a bookcase that has a whole bunch of stuff in it. I don't really have another bookcase where I can go. So all I really have is the bookcase, and the stuff has to go there, unless I really want to toss it. There's quite a lot of stuff there that I don't want to get rid of, so it needs to stay there. So I'm still looking at this big bookcase with all these books and things and stationery stuff and whatever else I got in there. And over the years I've started to dress it up a little bit by putting some decorative items here and there on the bookcase as well as on the shelves, but that just makes it look even more cluttered. So then the other day I thought, why not put up a curtain? Because I had already covered the bookcase with like this Christmassy paper tablecloth because I didn't want my mom to look at all the stuff. She'd made a comment about it the last time she'd been there. It is a little bit of an eyesore, the way it's all disorganized. So I figured for Christmas I was going to cover that up with a Christmassy tablecloth, the kind you can discard after Christmas. And I put like a couple of Christmas socks on top of that, and a Christmas tree was standing in front of it, so it looked just like a fun little scene. Nothing too crazy to look at, like kind of easy on the eyes. And then when Christmas passed, I got to take it down. I was like, I want to actually keep this type of cover on, but of course it can't be this paper tablecloth because then I can't reach my stuff that's underneath it if I do need it for something. But it's a fairly massive bookcase, so I thought, why don't I just put like a rail across the top and put a curtain on there? So that's what I did. Initially, all I could find, the curtains that were at the Action, because that's usually where I get my cheap stuff. They were kind of like a see-through type of thing, the type you put in front of windows so you're not immediately visible to anybody passing by, but you do have some light coming in. That kind of hid the bookcase, but I didn't really like it that much, but it was better than it was before in any case. It was calmer. And then the other day, I think it was yesterday, yesterday I went to the Action again for something else actually, and then I saw these pinkish curtains, like a soft salmon color, and I was like, oh, that is so much better. And they were blackout curtains, so that means that you can't look through them, which is exactly what I wanted, because I don't need to see what's in the bookcase. I know what's in there. And I might grab something from the bookcase like 5 or 6 times a year, but the rest of the time I don't really need to see it. So I was like, okay, these are the ones I'm going to get. And then I was there, and I also saw some pillowcase covers, or pillow covers rather, and they kind of matched. And I was like, okay, great, I'm going to do a different style then. Make things a little softer colored around here, and that helps. And the lighting in my house, like in the living room / kitchen area, they're just these copper wire things. They're not really lampshades, they're just kind of like copper shaped in a lampshade. It's just wire, so all the light that comes from the light bulb goes straight out into the room. Doesn't get diffused at all. And I had it like that for years, ever since I moved in here. And then last week, as a joke, I just put these pieces of cloth over it that I thought were kind of funny to see what it would look like if I put them up as a lampshade. And it's kind of orangey red, the cloth, and that made the lighting much softer, and that also has a really calming effect. But the point is, the light is not so bright as it was, and I don't know why I didn't think to do that before, because one of my things is that I've just learned to deal with things, and if something bothers me, I try to not even really acknowledge it to myself. I just kind of power through things. So it isn't really until like a year and a half ago that I started to notice what bothers me and try to maybe change things, shield myself from things, stuff like that. But anyway, so that is not really a planning thing or an executive function thing, although actually getting it done, I guess, was. After many months of not doing anything, it's just a continuous looking around to see if anything can change or if anything is out of place, and then fixing that in a moment. That makes me think that this is probably going to last a bit longer, and hopefully I'll get a good balance going at some point so that the house actually looks presentable like I wanted it to. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about for today. I hope you found it interesting. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section. I'd like to hear from you guys. So for now, I want to say thanks for watching and listening. I'll see you next time, and take care.